The president of the Tibetan government in exile, Penpa Tsering, says that the back channel talks with China are happening, but nothing substantial has been achieved so far. Tsering spoke to WION's principal diplomatic correspondent Siddhant Sibal on the controversies surrounding the Resolve Tibet Act. Listen in.
The conversation coming in the backdrop of the signing of the Resolve Tibet Act by the US President. So essentially, starting with this signing, how do you see the signing by the US President of this bill, which has now become a law?
Now, for the first time, of course, Chinese government has been asking every government to say Tibet is part of PRC. And every time they say that there is not a single country who recognizes the independent status of Tibet historically. So for the first time, this will be put into question, because the Resolve Tibet Act talks about the first point, of course, is that Tibet is still an unresolved conflict, and it should be resolved under international law. The second is that Tibetan people have the right to self-determination. And third, which is from our perspective the most important, is to counter China's disinformation on Tibetan history, its people, and His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And it also says that the US government does not recognize China's assertion that Tibet has been part of China since ancient times. And the fourth element of the bill is to describe Tibet territorially, which is not just the Tibet autonomous region as China wants to see it or would like the world to believe it. It also includes all the other Tibetan areas in Qinghai, Sichuan, Gansu, Yunnan provinces. So this is, in a way, challenging China's narrative on Tibet. And it's very, very important for us, because we look at this from the perspective of gaining value for the middle way policy, which was proposed by His Holiness the Dalai Lama, to seek a non-violent, mutually beneficial, negotiated solution that could be long-lasting. Because violence does not bring peace. But violence begets more violence, just as Mahatma Gandhi said, an eye for an eye will make the whole world blind. So we believe in non-violence, and the only way to bring China to the negotiating table or on the negotiating table is to pressure them from the international community if they are not responding in the manner they should.
Sir, last time we met in Dharamshala, you said that there are back-channel conversations between the Tibetan government in exile and the Chinese government. Immediately we saw a Chinese reaction, they're dismissing it. What is the current status? Are there any conversations? What is your reaction on the Chinese dismissal?
China does not acknowledge too many things. They are always in denial mode. Whether you talk about BYD, EV, vehicles, overcapacity, they say we don't have overcapacity, we are not doing this, we are not doing that, hegemonistic ambitions in the region. So even with our case also, earlier in 2002, 2001, when we restarted or when we began some kind of a dialogue with the Chinese also, initially they said the special envoy of His Holiness Lodi Gyari and Kyasan Kyanse, they came to meet with their family members, so Chinese are always in a denial mode, and they always like to have the upper hand in everything. They can dictate, So that is why when you see all these interactions, when it comes to United States, they always complain that they're not being treated equal. But then the problem is, how does China also treat India as equal in the Asian subcontinent? And forget about us, will they treat us equal? So those are a lot of issues that has a lot of psychological attitude that China has, that they are the middle kingdom, that everybody is under them and they should follow our diktat, not the other way around. So I think those needs to be demystified.
So are there any talks happening, any back-channel talks happening?
It is there, still there.
Any last round?
Nothing concrete, as I mentioned. If you ask me, if there is back-channel, I do admit there is back-channel. If you ask me, is there anything substantive going on, I say no, there's nothing substantive. And if you ask me, do you have expectations? Right now, if you look at what Xi Jinping is doing to Hong Kong, to Tibetans, to Uyghurs, to Mongols, even its bellicosity towards Taiwan, to its own people, it doesn't look very likely that we can have anything concrete right now or anything positive right now. But then if you ask me, even if you have no expectation, why do you engage with them? Then I always said Sino-Tibet dispute or conflict is not a short-term thing. It's a long-term issue that we need to carry forward.
Any last round? When the last round happened?
The last happened by the beginning of this month.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.